You know, when when I do vampire books, I'm in it for the romance, the mystery. Maybe there's a murder mystery to solve. Maybe there's some romance going on the side. Not completely character angst, but other stuff going on too. I can't just have a romance. There's got to be a mystery. There's got to be something to solve. There's got to be something there, investigation, something like that. As you can tell from Anita Blake up there. Okay, so I'm in it for the romance. So welcome to the DeLuise book series. I'm Christina, K-R-I-S-T-I-N-A. I'm trying to practice learn my sign language, so it's nice to meet you. And I do it. The video is going like this, but I kind of learned like this. How are you? And they're more how. I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm trying to up my signs because I'm doing the Victoria Thompson series. So we're going to do Brian. I'm learning for Brian. I'm learning for me too for the schools. But anyways, back to I digress. So I'm in it for the romance. I'm in it for the mystery solving. I'm in it for the detectiving. So we're going to be doing the Blackbird trilogy, Whispers at Dusk by Heather Graham. There you go. And I picked it up, and I was like, mystery, military, see the cover. And then I got to what first was positive for me was the fact that there was a list of characters in the beginning. So I didn't have to start a spreadsheet, because normally if I start a new series, I start a spreadsheet so that I know who the characters are. So that when I get from next book to next book, I know who our main core characters are, who are not the whodunit, and I can pay attention to the other extraneous characters to find out who done it. So I like this printing. However, see this here? Having just read Jana de Leon, The Clue Crew, it just struck me. And then another thing that was kind of interesting was when I was flipping through the descriptions here on the next page. It says the vampire, the master, organized serial killer, globetrotting to bring the kingship from country to country. And I'm like, okay. And then, oh, I should have brought it. I didn't bring it. It's over there. Wait a second. Okay. This is turning into an if then episode. I may have to use these for an if then episode. This kind of works. So where was I? Oh yeah. So like I said, I'm in it for the romance. I'm in it for the mystery, the whodunit. And then when I saw vampire, I'm like, sounds interesting. I'm a vampire person. Hey, look at those. Those are all vampires. Those are all paranormals back there. All of them. So, like I said, I'm in it for the romance. I'm in it for I want my vampire to be the hero. He can't be looking for a cure. I hate those books. Those books drive me crazy. I avoid them like the plague. Some woman trying to cure him to be normal again. So last year we did the Carolyn Sparks, we did the Lindsay Sands, the Malcontents, the whole 9 yards with them, the Argenos. Those are my vampires. Anita Blake, John Claude, my vampires, my werewolves, my leopards, the whole 9 yards. So, and I should really someday we'll do anyway. So I was like, okay, this has potential. So maybe we'll try it. And I didn't. All right, so like you got your romance. You got Sookie Stackhouse and Eric. I need to get the single. I haven't gotten it yet. This is a double. Um, really hot and steamy romance, Raphael. Silly romance, but vampire. I only have fangs for you. So those are the books. So I bring this one up and this one up because not only is this a vampire, but two of our main characters talk to the dead. So that was another bonus. Supposedly vampires, and my main characters supposedly talk to the dead, and nobody judged them on it. They just automatically assumed that this was possible. So that was kind of good. And we had a little bit of a murder mystery going on here. They did an awful lot of traveling. It was kind of mind-boggling. They were jumping on planes going all over the places. And I don't know what the Blackbird has to do with it. I probably will figure it out at a later juncture. So that was my first disclaimer here. I think it says, oh, the Euro Special. I see. I wrote in my notes. I wrote Euro Special Assistance Team. I didn't realize they were the Blackbird team. I didn't see this earlier. So in my notes, I wrote the Euro Special Assistance Team, a newly formed group created to extend the crew's reach into Europe to assist with crimes abroad. You know, no matter what time of day I do a video, she goes off. So please check your New Year's Eve Janet Ivanovich thing if you haven't seen her identity. So anyway, now that I've given my disclaimer on how I feel about romances and ghosts, and if you haven't tried this, try that. We will do these. These are so cute. Or some vampires here. So we start off, and it didn't. I just didn't. If you know me before, I've got this thing. I go, it's just, and you can feel this. You can finish that sentence any which way you want. It's just good. It's just horrible. It's just. I don't know. So we start off with the prologue, and Della Hamilton has a friend, Jose Garcia, and he gets killed in a really freak accident. And she's coming home after he dies. He's been dead a while. So she's back home, and she was back home for the summer after her first year of college when the killer they called the Canal Carnivore arrived in South Florida. The man had eluded police in the west, northeast, and had struck Biloxi, Mississippi, before heading further to the south, right before Della had returned home to take up her summer job as a lifeguard for the summer. He had attacked and killed a young woman in the Brickell area, a divorcee living alone in a condominium and working for a local bank. His signature was the removal of a patch of skin from his victims, usually a 2x2 square that contained the belly button. The only witness who discovered the victim near the Old Church Cemetery, New York, by Wall Street, had seen a disappearing hooded figure chewing on something bloody as he hurried towards the Hudson River. Thus, he'd been labeled the carnivore. And I was like, ew, just gross. I mean, ew, really gross, really horrible. And I'm like, is this supposed to be the vampire? I was like, I don't think so. So, she's home, and she had been home a week when her car suddenly started acting up. She kept a good eye on it. While it wasn't a new car, it wasn't old. The computer user warned her if she needed maintenance or if anything was wrong. He had given no warning, but the red light was suddenly blinking, screaming for maintenance. She was about to drive by the cemetery, and the radio had gone silent. The car was bucking strangely, and she quickly drove onto the grass at the side of the road, only feet from the little coral wall. No problem. Other than she wouldn't have her car, she always had her phone and her AA card. She turned up the engine and reached into the passenger seat for her bag, but digging inside, she couldn't find her phone. It had to be there. She had undressed and donned her swimsuit, left her bag in the woman's locker, worked for hours, gone back and changed. She had not removed her phone from her purse, but she could not find her purse and she ends it up in the cemetery with the hoodie guy coming after her. And who helps save her but her dead friend Jose? And he's like, "Oh, you can see me." And she talks to him and all this kind of stuff. And he tells her that she has the extra sight. And it's all curious like that. So that's good. So then, fast forward like a year later, and she's now working for the FBI. And we're seeing the second point of view. There's a point of view by Della, and then there's a point of view by Mason. Mason will become her partner. And Mason has got a killer in a cabin in the middle of the swamp area, and he is talking to his ghost friend while the killer's got a girl hostage. And Della comes in, and they end up disarming him, and it's all great news. It ends quite well. And then he's told by his ghost friend that they've got plans for him that he didn't know they had plans for him. So it was just it just came out of the blue. He had no clue they were doing this. He thought he was going on vacation. He just solved this big case, right? This big murder case. The following morning, just as Gideon had said, Mason found himself in an office with the bigwigs down from Washington. The two bigwigs. The one was an elderly man. Mason had heard of him. His name was Adam Harrison, and he was known for both his philanthropy and the fact that he'd been instrumental in forming special units of the Bureau. He was with another man, this one in his 40s, a striking fellow with Native American blood and a stature that indicated hours in the gym and probably out in the field as well. His man was Jackson Crow. Mason knew who they were. Everyone in the Bureau knew about the special separate unit that was called in for bizarre cases that included cult activity, so-called witchcraft, and cases which involved haunted buildings, werewolves, or any other strange manifestation. They had an amazing record for resolving cases, and while they were teasingly called the Ghostbusters, the crew of hunters were also highly respected. So they know who he is, and they offer him this job. And so, trying to see what this. So Mason and Della are talking. And I don't think this killer believes he's a vampire, though if he's seeking followers, he'll want to convince them he is a supernatural creature. I believe he'll be like the guy we just got, probably handsome or charming enough to lure victims. Somewhere in his 20s or 30s. 30s, I think, old enough to have gotten clever enough to clean up a crime scene and have the finances to pull off what he's doing. He'll be making sure he gets a lot of press all over Europe. He wants the fame or the infamy. So, they've got this guy that's draining his victims. They're not sure. It supposedly looked like teak marks, but it looks like they used, IV bags and tubes and all that kind of mechanical stuff. But the guy's using equipment that leaves like a puncture mark. So then I'm just going to do a few of this because I just didn't get it. The guy was leaving DNA. The death had been by exsanguination. Pinpricks at her throat appeared like the movie version of a vampire bite. She displayed no defense wounds, but in autopsy, it was revealed that she had been given a sedative, probably Rohypnol. So they had the killer's DNA, but there was no DNA on file for the killer. And then somewhere along the line, it's revealed that the killer was leaving fake, not his own saliva, but apparently had collected saliva from other people. And I had so many issues. So, then they decide that the killer might be American. So they have, because he had left a note on one of the victims, and when he wrote harbor, the European way is OUR and the American way is OR. So that was another thing that they pointed out. So they go to Norway of all places. And for me, if it's going to be a vampire, it's going to be Transylvania or New Orleans or something like that. I have no idea how. I guess she wanted to put a lot of, and there is a lot of Norway history here with the Vikings. There's a ton of history in this book. So if you're interested in Norway and Norway's history, there's tons of it in here. They go to examine one of the sites where the bodies were found, and they accidentally discover a third body. And also, DELLA meets a Viking ghost and talks to him and gets a little bit of a description from him of the killer. Then they learn that the supposed killer, frequented a specific bar and was specifically requesting Bloody Marys and saying that the real blood was better than these Bloody Marys. So they set up a sting in this bar, and they eventually, the guy kidnaps DELLA, and things go away 6 ways to Sunday, and they get him and his cohorts, but it's not the main guy. It's one of the underlings who's been brainwashed. There's an awful lot of that going around lately. I really did not enjoy this book at all. One of my favorite moments was the two of them, Mason and DELLA. I guess they're starting to form a relationship or a partnership that will probably develop over the trilogy. But so she says that when her parents first discovered that she was talking to the dead, they sent her to a therapist until a friend of my dad's passed away. I saw him at a funeral. He told me it was important I get to his wife. He left papers and policies behind, but they weren't in the regular vault. He'd gotten a new one, not expecting a heart attack. So I told the widow, and she told my folks everything I said was true. She thought it was exceptional and wonderful, and my folks talked to me again. I should say they listened to me and accepted it all. Then I had to explain it like I couldn't call someone up on the cell phone. Some stayed for years, some just until something was resolved. But now they're just glad it helps my work. And then she's like, well, who is your first? And the tit tat goes back and forth about, the sexual innuendo and that kind of stuff, which was kind of cute. And then he says, not talking sex, your first ghost. I know crew members who talked to dead from time they were kids. That must have been difficult to explain and to understand and to exist in the world where most people don't talk to the dead. I think we all talk to the dead in our hearts, he said. And so she says, spill. Okay, I'll admit it, but still hurts a bit. When I was a kid, we had a neighbor, nicest man you ever want to meet. You lost a ball in his yard, no problem. Halloween, he was out with all kinds of candy and dressed up, always to entertain whatever kids came by. I found out later in life that his pregnant wife had been broadsided in a horrible car accident. The baby was lost, his wife was in a coma. He never socialized much, just went to the hospital every day. But he didn't become bitter, he just tried to make life better for others. Anyway, there was some gang activity near that, and he was caught out one night and by a drive-by shooting. I didn't see him at his funeral, but a few weeks later we were visiting my grandfather's grave, and I saw him. And I wandered off, crazy. I was a kid, but I wasn't scared. He was a nice man. I figured if he'd been cruel or evil alive, he'd be cruel or evil dead. But he'd just been a good man. So anyway, long story short, too late, I know. He realized they saw him, and he said to come visit him often. He was going to wait for his wife. And he did, and when she passed, they went on together. So that was just a cute little thing that I wanted to share. So, you'll have to read the book to find out if they actually catch the killer, the master in this one, or if you have to wait for the sequel, the next one coming, because obviously this is going to be a trilogy. But I had so many issues with it. You know, if I want to talk to dead people, this is such a cute series. You will have to check it out, and we will do this later in the year when I have time. This is a girl. She works in cemeteries, and she solves their murder mysteries. The people in the cemetery come to her and ask her if she can solve their murder for them. And of course, then we have Lust here, Kathy Love, I Only Have Fangs for You, and a really good Vampires in America series, DB Reynolds. So you'll have to check those out. But so check this out. Let me know if you like it. It's just, it wasn't for me. I really didn't enjoy it. It wasn't my average vampire romance type of thing. It was going after a serial killer who thought he was a vampire, and it just didn't click for me. There was so much history, which sometimes I really enjoy that kind of stuff, but I just didn't in this. I don't know why. So please check it out, and please hit the like and subscribe. I've lost 5 subscribers this week. I get the feeling I'm never going to hit 200. And don't forget Flashback Mondays, Star Trek Fridays, and If Then Fridays. And before she goes off again, I'll sign off. Thank you.